memorable events. Making the most of these events is key, because these adventures create milestones in our lives, and what better way to document these milestones than through books? Milestones, big or small, but they all hold a special place in our hearts. The accomplishments may be personal, such as graduating from school or getting a promotion at work, or they may be shared with others, such as getting married or even having a child. These books can serve as a reminder of the hard work and dedication that went into reaching that goal. They can capture the memories and emotions associated with it, and they can be cherished for years to come. No matter what the milestone is, capture it in a book.
Welcome everybody, I'm C. Ruth Taylor, and today we are tackling a topic that affects all of us, and that is the topic of loss. I'm wearing black. Today I had a funeral, but loss is not just for those who have lost a loved one. We're talking about grief and loss, and we grieve different things. It could be the loss of a pet, the loss of a job, the loss of a friendship. It's different things. And so we want to tackle that. How do we cope with that? And today I have a very special guest with me. She is a clinical psychologist and a behavior analyst. And she provides evidence-based therapy and intervention for individuals with developmental, emotional, and behavioral disorders. And she's also a grief specialist. Miss Geraldine Garwood is passionate about empowering others. She mentors young women, values faith, and believes in the transformative power of education and prayer. And so she is my guest for this evening. We're going to be talking about her own grief journey and a book that she has coming out soon. You don't want to see me, I'm the book lady, right? So we want you to join us on YouTube, Authorpreneur Secrets, and share it with a friend. Go and share this live broadcast with a friend as we talk about an affair with grief. And so go to the Authorpreneur Secrets YouTube channel and just share the broadcast. Share it in your Facebook groups. Share it with your WhatsApp group. And let's get into this, because there are all of us at some point in time will face loss. And so this is a very important topic. One of my favorite scriptures, in fact, I use it in my first book. Every time I sign that book, it's Psalm 147 verse 3. It says, God heals the brokenhearted and he binds up their wounds. And so one of the ways that God heals is through people, right? And he has raised up counselors to help us with heart issues. Just like the doctors cover, physical issues, there are those who specialize in emotional healing. And Miss Garwood is one of them. Let me know where you're joining from. We're also going to open the floor for questions. And so, like I said, she's going to share her own grief journey and talk us through. Christmas is coming up. And we know that that is a time too that many people struggle to cope. It's, when families get together, and sometimes it's at that time you feel the loss greater than other times. So without further ado, let me bring Miss Garwood to the stage. Hi, Geraldine. How are you doing?
I am good. I am so excited.
Me too.
I'm really excited, and I'm giving God thanks for all
This
that He has done.
It is truly a privilege to see what is unfolding, and I am so glad, because part of my mission in helping people to write books is to raise up those who are hurting and those who feel hopeless, to give them a sense of hope. Before we get into your own grief journey, let's start off with something light. For
Like
those who don't know you, or maybe they know you, but they don't know these things, can you tell us three fun facts about yourself?
fun facts. I think I like teasing persons. Yes, a lot of persons don't know, but I'll do it, and I'll do it quietly too at times. That's one thing. What a fun fact about me, is I really just like to lie down and watch movies and just laugh, talk through the movies and just laugh. I like that. And another fun fact about me is that I like having my grand nieces, nephews, the babies around me. I enjoy being with them. They lighten my day. They give me a sense of um calmness, a sense of laughter. I learn a lot from them, and I just enjoy having them around me. So those are some fun facts, right, about me. I really do like having children around me, and I like, lying down and just watching a movie and laughing and concluding the movie by myself. And I like to tease people.
So you like to tease people. When you're talking about the grandkids and the grandchildren, I'm talking about what happened to this young lady? What, you don't look
But
like
it's
a
true. I have a lot
grand.
of them. Yes, it's true. You know, so I have two that I pick up every day, and it's my pleasure to do so. I pick them up from school and just have them in the car and just to talk and laugh, ask them what they did. It does so much for me. I don't really want anybody to pick them up, but sometimes other person will have to. But when I have them, they bring me that sense of peace, laughter, calmness.
All right, love it. All right, so we're here to give hope to others, and you're here to enlighten us on types of loss, bereavement, grief, and some tips to cope with it, as well as announce to the world that not only will you do this, but you're multiplying yourself and making a resource available to help persons to cope with loss. So before we get into your own grief journey, I am going to flash on screen this lovely book, and this is an image of, it could be you by the beach
That
looking
beach,
out. Yes,
yes,
very contemplative, and
yeah.
here with grief. And
Yes.
we're looking at tips to cope with loss, insights, stories, practical tips. And you're going to get a taste of that this evening, my viewers and listeners. And so, for those who are joining, I want you to type in the chat for me in the comment section. What are some of, if you have faced loss and you found yourself grieving that, what are some of the losses that you have faced this year that have been significant, and you're looking to get some tips from her this evening? So the first question I'm going to ask her is to explain what grief is and what are some of the types of losses that result in grief. So let's go back to Miss Garwood. Go right ahead.
All right, grief is a natural response to loss. Everybody grieves, and I always say that we are a grieving nation, we are a grieving world, we are a grieving people, because we grieve for different things. So we not only grieve death, we can grieve the loss of a nice dress. So you have a nice dress that you really, really love, and you have this dress you only picked out at some points to wear, and one day you wear it and you ask somebody to wash it and it got damaged, and you can grieve that. Persons can grieve the loss of their cell phones, and we have many persons who do that. When they lose the cell phone, it's like they cannot function and they go through grief. You can grieve the loss of a job, loss of friendship, divorce, separation, and of course death of a family member, friend, death of a pet. You can grieve the loss of a job, graduation, leaving college, transitioning from one community to the next. So there are several types of losses that can allow persons to grieve. And so grief comes with different kinds of emotions, right? And so some of those emotions may include crying, anger, depression, withdrawal, you know, just staying by yourself, you know. Some of those emotions can also um, involve like lashing out, not able to function, function academically if you're in school, function mentally, even on the job. So the whole issue of grief is complex. And I think that, as a people, as a world, we need to take the time to understand more about grief and grieving, respecting each person's way and method and style of grieving, and accepting it too, learning each other's grieving style so that we don't bring down judgment on persons, because there is a particular notion that we only grieve if we're crying, and so sometimes we maybe see somebody laughing and we think that they are not grieving. Grieving can bring out complex emotions, different kind of emotions, so everybody grieves differently, and that is critical for us to understand. Everybody grieves in their own way. Grieving is personal. I used to always say, and I will always say, just like how we say salvation is a personal journey, grieving is a personal journey. There is no time frame for grieving, but we need to grieve healthily. It's important that we grieve healthily. And so I guess at some point, and in my book, you will see what is constituted as unhealthy grieving and healthy grieving. But, we need to grieve healthily. And as long as the person is grieving healthily, then they are in a good place, right? So there are different types of grief, and some of those I will touch on, a few of them, but as you read the book, you will understand that as well. So grieving really takes time, and don't rush. It is not a rush thing. It is personal. Don't rush it. And don't let anybody encourage you to rush it. As long as it is being done healthily. I want to say that again. So as long as persons are grieving healthily, then you take the time. Now, if we realize that persons are not grieving healthily, then we know we have to intervene. That intervention will come with deep therapy, as we kind of observe and assess to understand. Because I want to put it out there that grieving can be a disorder, because we have bereavement disorder, which is in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders. And so persons can be diagnosed with such a disorder. Therefore, it's important that we allow persons to understand what they need to experience as they grieve. And if their grieving is shifted in a particular direction, then they may be grieving unhealthily. And therefore, the intervention of a therapist or a grief specialist is crucial, so that we can allow the persons to go through the grief in the healthy way.
Wow. So far we have Kayla joining us. She says, good night. Very timely topic. She lost her mom last year and a dear cousin this year. So this is grieving the loss of a loved one. Remember, we're saying that what we're talking about this evening is not just the death of a loved one, but our very sincere condolences to Kayla. And Geta is saying, a book for a time like now. Congratulations, Evangelist, for allowing the Lord to use you. So you touched on a point which I think is very important for those who are going through. And we still want you to jot down in the comments, those who are joining live, what kind of losses have you faced this year that you are grieving? And she gave a long list, right? It's not just death. But what does unhealthy grieving look like?
All right, unhealthy grieving is the type of grief that we call complicated grief or chronic grieving, right? That kind of grieving is when we begin to do abnormal things. So you will find somebody grieving unhealthy. For the chronic grief, there's a deep yearning for the deceased. The person begin to stop eating. They are not sleeping well. They are not taking baths. They stop caring for themselves. They are not able to function on the job. They speak about the deceased as if in the present. They do the same things that they will do for the deceased as if the person was still alive. So they will still prepare breakfast, cook their meals. They will actually take up a child bag as if it's a mother, for example, lost a child, take up the bag, walking out to the gate as if they are taking to the child to the bus stop. So they will do things that are what we call abnormal. And that is considered unhealthy grieving, where you have to intervene when a person not eating, not taking care of themselves, stop taking a bath, not grooming themselves properly, unable to function daily, sleeping consistently, withdrawing, not able to talk to anybody at all, don't want to see anybody. You can see the actual physical toll on their system, weight loss, sunken eyes, and we can see it also appearing physically in them. So that is where the unhealthy grieving comes in, where they speak about the deceased as if in the present. They are not accepting that the deceased is no longer here. They still call the deceased person's number and talk to them on the phone as if they are still around. So these kind of abnormal behaviors are what we considered unhealthy grieving.
Wow. So at what point, all right, I think it is, to me, it's normal if I've lost a loved one that I'm going to have sleepless nights, because just things happen and you worry, you have sleepless nights. And for those who are introverts like me, we always withdraw. Sometimes you don't want to talk to folks immediately. At what point does it go into that abnormal
It
pattern?
go
Because are you
it
saying
goes
any of this is abnormal? Because you have the denial stage, where you just can't believe that the person has died, and maybe you're still talking about them in the present tense, or you can't sleep and you lose weight. Um, if those things start happening immediately, are you saying that that's abnormal?
No, I'm not saying that because there is a time frame. So persons need to go through all the stages of grief, especially the ones given, the main theory, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, that state those stage of grief. But there are other newer types like Wardens, and there are others that give you stages which are similar or maybe just word changes from Kubler-Ross's stages. So for her stage of grief, of course, we know the anger, denial, the depression, and all of that, and the acceptance stage. But persons need to go through those stages. That is a part of the process to normal grieving. So they must go through the anger stage, they must go through the denial, they must go through that period. It's when they actually stay in the depression stage now. And when they stay in there and you can't pull them out of there, that's when it becomes abnormal. Because when they are depressed to that level, they will display the abnormal behavior. And I want to give a true story of a gentleman, and I used to always share it with my students when I facilitate the course Grief and Crisis Management. He lost his wife, I think it was somewhere in Spanish Town. And he used to go out there every day to meet her when she was alive. And having lost her, he went out there every single day, even after 6 months to a year, to meet her off the bus. And he actually died out there. An accident happened and he himself died out there. So he was in that chronic, going into complicated grief where he could not accept that his wife will no longer be coming home. So every day he would go out to the bus stop to actually meet his wife. And there's another scenario where there was a mother who lost her child. And she would get up every morning and fix the breakfast. And she continued to do so for at least 7 months. And so there now comes a time for intervention because she is still pretending as if the child is still there and doing the same thing for the child as if the child is there. So, of course, in the initial phase of a loss, of a death, persons will experience some sleepless nights, persons will not eat for a couple of days, persons will go through their anger, their denial, looking who to blame, whether the hospital, whether themselves for not acting swiftly, getting the medications, doing the test, whatever it is. We will all go through that. But when we actually get stuck in that place of depression and even denial too, then we are at a place when we are grieving unhealthily. And it is now crossing over into chronic, which will then lead into that complicated grief where we will exhibit some of these abnormal behaviors that I have mentioned.
Okay. All right. So we know some of the signs now of grieving unhealthily. Now, a hot topic for me is what about, I mean, all of us have some kind of loss. If you've lost a pet or you've lost a job, are the signs of grief similar? Should we what should we do, for example, if we see certain persons manifesting or grieving too long, if it's a loss of a friendship, a job, a pet? What do we say, or what shouldn't we say to persons? Because I think this is a hot button topic that sometimes we put our foot in our mouth and we say the wrong things to people who are grieving. What are some of the things that we should not say to those who are grieving?
One of my greatest concern in terms of understanding grief is that more often than not, we say the wrong thing with the right intention. So it's not that like we mean harm, but it's because I believe there's still a shortage in educating the public, the nation, the people on how we treated persons who are grieving, how we deal with grief, why at times we make a blunder and say the wrong things. Some of the times, even the scriptures that we use are not the right scriptures for that timing. And we are not discredited and discounting scriptures, but there's a time and place of scriptures because there are some persons who are grieving who do not want to hear scripture at that particular time, who do not even want to hear the name of God at that particular time, because it depends on their loss. More often than that, most persons who are grieving tend to be angry at God first. And we sometimes hear it on the news, or persons will say, where is God? Why did God allow this? And all of that. So we have to be cautious, when we say things like God knows what best, and we will say, do not grieve as if you have no hope. There are times that we will say things and we will say, it's time to move on now. We don't know a person's grief journey because as you ask about what we look for in terms of a pet, I have lost animals. I love dogs. And I had to euthanize at least 3 of my dogs. And the first time I did it, I was so distraught that the young man who accompanied me, because I needed somebody to help to lift the dog, to put him in the car, and he could not believe it because he had never seen like, gee, you really are crying over one dog? I mean, the dog was all my dogs I love dearly. And so that took a toll on me, right? It didn't take a toll to the fact where, I wasn't eating for weeks or so, but I still felt it. So at the same time, it depends on the attachment that the person have to their animal, to the person lost, or whatever they're grieving for. So even for a job, a lot of persons can lose their sanity, especially when it comes to job loss. If that is their only method of earning an income, they have no other source of income. They have their family, they have children to send to school, they have bills to pay, rent to pay, all of that. And there comes a termination right there and then. There comes a redundancy. And when you check out the redundancy money and look at, the prospect of getting another job within a couple months or a year, maybe that can't work with you. There are a lot of persons who begin to act insane. They get aggressive. They start lash out at their children. If they have a partner, they lash out at their partner. They stop eating. They stop functioning. They stop talking to persons. And some persons even go to the point of even going back to the workplace, pleading, begging back for the job. And some persons, when they reach in a complication stage, they will go to the workplace every day dressed for the job, and they don't have a job there, and go to the door and expect to go in and go to their decks and function. That is when it gone on to complicated grieving. So these are things that we have to look out for. The person who may lose their pet may don't even want another pet, because that is, they can't handle getting another pet, right? While some person, that's another type of grief, may experience abbreviated grief and may substitute a pet to fill that gap for that particular loss of that kind of pet. So again, it depends on the person's attachment to whatever they have lost. That determines their weight of grief and how they will grieve. So
Uh,
attachment is key to the grieving process.
there's a particular grieving that maybe you can shed some light on it for me. Among the elderly, I'm concerned, for example, if they've outlived a lot of their friends and you're, um, how do we help in such a situation? Or maybe this is a good way to segue into the whole, because my mind is just going all over the place now, looking at symptoms and and stuff. So bear with me. This is not a professional interview, folks. How do we help persons who are grieving, whether it's a loss of friends, a pet, a loved one, the very serious ones? I have persons who've lost family members tragically, some through illness. Right now, in our church, almost every week there's an announcement of the death of somebody, and can you have grief fatigue, and how those who are supporting, what do we do? Give us maybe 5 things, because we need to go get the book, but so that person
Yes,
can
we
get
need to get the book.
something
Right.
leaving here. Give us
But
some
as we
tips.
talk about that, I will go back a little bit to the pandemic, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, and why I really pushed to write this book. During the pandemic, I had multiple loss. I lost a sister, I lost a dear elder, another dear person in my church who became a part of my family. And one day I was just crying, and I said, who am I crying for? I honestly didn't know which one of them I was actually, because it was so much. So I'm trying to figure out, am I crying this time for my sister? Am I crying for Elder Dakers? Am I crying for Sister Baker because they were very close to me? Who am I grieving for? So that kind of multiple loss is something that we have to learn to navigate. And in order to navigate it, we have to actually find the time to really sit down first to evaluate which one of the grief we are actually trying to deal with, because there are different types that we are experiencing, right? Therefore, as I was saying earlier, I had to sit down and determine, all right, I need to take the time out to grieve for my sister. And then I need to take the time out to grieve for Elder Dakers, who was very dear to me. I need to take the time out to grieve for Miss Baker, who was a part of my family. Our family adopted her. So I needed to take the time out to actually grieve for each person and deal with my emotion in relation to each. What we find is that a number of persons have had what we call cumulative grief, more than one grief over and over and over. And so because they are not able to segment their emotions, it becomes even more complicated for them, because they are not able to determine, who am I actually grieving for? Did I grieve for X? Did I grieve for Y? What were the emotions that I experienced that were associated with Bill as against Mary, as against Jane, as against Bob? So those are some critical things that persons need to be able to go through. And any kind of therapist or any person dealing with somebody who have had what we call multifaceted grief and cumulative grief, a number of grief, those are things that needs to be addressed. So we are able to identify the emotions that are associated with each particular loss. So we mustn't just put all of the losses together. We have to ensure that the person deal with the emotions one as against the other, and that is where we are able to help the persons, right? So if you are going through multiple loss, the first thing I would say is that you have to accept that you're grieving. Accept and acknowledge your emotions that are associated with grieving. I would say to you, do not tough it out either, because some people try to put on a brave front because there's a notion that we need to be strong. And I will say to you, in grief, nobody needs to be strong for anybody. Everybody must grieve together. The entire family must grieve. You grieve with your children, you grieve with your spouse. Everybody should understand that we are all grieving and appreciate each other's grieving style. So that's critical, especially for the family unit, the family system, right? So we must first identify our emotions associated with our loss, accept that we are actually going through grieving. Do not try to kind of mask the grief because it won't do anything for us because it will eventually come out in some other kind of behavior. And once we are able to do that, then we go and seek help to deal with the losses that we are going through, right?
Okay. All right. So yeah, I was making some points so that I can show it across the screen. So you're saying
Okay.
accept that you are grieving. So once there is loss, grief is automatic. Is that it?
Automatic. Yes, it is.
All right. If you face multiple losses, you need to process each loss
Right.
instead of trying to just deal with everything one
Think
time.
one time, right.
Right. So identify the emotions. So is that you praying, talking to a friend, journaling? How do you go about doing that? Because not everybody can afford a counselor and that kind of thing. So how does the average person um, help
You,
those who are grieving? I mean, all
right.
of
You
us will
can,
go through it. How do we help ourselves? Um,
right. You can talk with a friend because it's good to talk. Talk to somebody, right? So if you have a good friend that you can listen to, talk with them. If you have a good pastor, you can talk to about it, talk with them, right? Not somebody who is going to spiritualize the grief, but somebody who is practical to understand that you are going to go through these emotions associated with grief, whether you are saved or not saved. Right, so that is very critical. You can also journal, and you can also do what I would recommend as bibliotherapy. Read a book on grief for those who can read, right? Read a book. That is what we call bibliotherapy too. You can get some books on grief and you can read it and you can apply some of the tips that are given in the book to your own life. And that is what we call also a part of bibliotherapy. You can also listen to um, videos on grief and listen to persons' testimonials and how they navigate through their own grieving process.
Wow, I'm so happy you said that because I'm like, I wrote a novel this year, right? And in it, one of the main character died. And so what I had was that at the funeral, a friend gave the bereaved lover C.S. Lewis his book on C.S. Lewis has this book about grief and loss. For the time being, the name eludes me, but he gave her this book and she was able to read it and it helped her to understand the grieving process. I didn't know that that was an actual thing.
Yes,
And then
that's
I
a
have
therapy,
another
bibliotherapy. Yes.
bibliotherapy. So this is a good way to segue into what we're doing. So I want to encourage persons to get Geraldine's book on a fear with grief
Yes.
because this is also one of the strategies to cope. So I have a friend, he lost his daughter tragically, right, to domestic violence. And he said, I was trying to recommend books, but him said, not a time to read. So what I started doing, because I have the privilege of seeing the book before it comes out, right? I started taking tips from your book and I would voice note it via WhatsApp or write out a short text, and then I say a little prayer and something to try to support. So it's actually a thing.
Yes, it is. It is indeed. Yes. It
Oh
is.
my goodness, I feel good because now we can help a whole lot of people
Yes, we
with
can
this
help a lot of
book.
people with that. Yes.
All right, so let me just do a little promo and take some reviews of this book that's coming out. You can't get it anywhere yet, folks. We're trying to bring this book out for Christmas. It's going to be launched on the 20th of December. And so we want you to place your early bird orders. So it's An Affair with Grief. It's talking about practical stories, insights, and tips to cope with loss. And from what you heard, this is just a taste. It's a simple book, so it's not heavy theory and getting into, all kind of technical issues. It's a book that any one of us can use to understand the types of grief, what to do, what not to do, so that we can help people better cope, help ourselves, because all of us will face grief at some point or another. And so you can go to, hope you're able to see the website. You can go to bamboosparks.com and you will be able to go there and order. This is a print book we're talking about. It's the paperback or the hard copy. I hope folks are seeing. And it's $17 or 2,500 Jamaican. And the hardcover is $25. We already have gotten one order. In order to ensure that the books get here before Christmas, with all the Christmas madness taking place with shipping, you have to place your order early. So the cutoff point is December 10. So just go to bamboosparks.com, put in her name, Geraldine Garwood, and you can place your order and we will make arrangements for delivery. You can also preview a sample of the book. So we're giving away that for free, chapter 1. So go on the page, that's bamboosparks.com/Geraldine Garwood, and you can download chapter 1 for free and place your order. You can use your credit card, or if you use PayPal, you can use that to place the order. And if you want to order locally or pay locally outside of using the online platform, we have a flyer which we can send out with WhatsApp numbers, and we'll make that available a little later. We'll put that across the screen. But let's hear what some of our friends have to say, those who've gotten a peek into the book. Let's hear what they have to say. I trust that you were seeing the tab just now. All
Yes,
right.
they're seeing.
All
You should
right,
be able to
awesome. So the first person who endorsed this book, well, one of two, is a psychologist. She's the founder of Roar. Is it Unleashed?
Yes.
We went to JTS together. That's psychologist Sashina White. So let's hear what she has to say about this book.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Sashina, and I'd like to take a moment to recognize the incredible work of Miss Geraldine Garwood, whose expertise as a behavior specialist is unmatched. With years of experience in helping individuals navigate the complexities of life, Geraldine has developed a deep understanding of human behavior, mental health, and personal growth. What makes Geraldine stand out is not just her professional qualifications, but also her genuine compassion and empathy that she demonstrates to others. You see, her ability to connect with clients on a meaningful level and her ability to offer practical and effective guidance, these are things that set her apart as a true leader and pioneer in the field of behavior, mental health, and counseling. So you see, if you're seeking a resource that can truly make a difference in your life or the life of others, then An Affair with Grief, Tips to Cope with Loss is the book that is a must read. This book is filled with insightful wisdom and actionable strategies that it's more than a book, it's more than a guide, it's a lifeline for those who need support, encouragement, and tools to build emotional resilience. Whether you have faced your personal challenges or you are simply looking to enhance your mental wellness, this book provides the perfect blend of professional tips and heartfelt understanding. So don't miss the opportunity to learn from one of the best in the field. This book is easy to read, easy to follow, and very, very powerful. Personally, I love the stories of loss, like those that you wouldn't even dream about, those that seem far out, like the one about stillbirth. It's an easy read, and I felt as though she was speaking directly to me as the reader. It's a job that's well done, and the book sell off, so make sure that you get your copy.
Geraldine Garwood is an excellent clinician. She genuinely cares for her clients, and that level of care has spilled over into her written work. Readers will find with An Affair with Grief that they feel heard and understood. They feel as if the writer desires for them to experience healing on their grief journey. They will have a wonderful read and they will definitely grow from this experience.
Review of the book. And we have some persons joining us live. We have Getta May O'Sullivan. She's part of Geraldine's management team. We're going to add her to the stage and ask her to bring her greeting. Mrs. O'Sullivan or Miss O'Sullivan, please go ahead and bring your greetings.
And a very pleasant night to everybody. And I thank you. And I've been listening and I'm saying, God, how you use us and how you have used Geraldine for such a time like this, that haven't gone through the process of grieving my mother who just recently died. It is indeed a calling of God on her path to involve me at this time. I can only see the series coming from this one. And as you said, it is a sell-off. We thank God for using her as a vessel at this time. There are so many questions and so many things when you are grieving that I know that the Lord is saying to us, this is how.
Miss O'Sullivan?
On this program for what you're doing. And all of us have our place and part to ensure that as Jamaicans, we get the message of how we grieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was good. And we want to open the floor for questions. So we're going to take two more greetings from her past student. She's a lecturer, so you're talking about somebody who has not only faced her own losses. She told you in COVID how she lost a sister, and the book opens up with her losing a nephew and how she responds to that. And then she has tributes to other persons that she's lost. So she's not just writing from a theoretical perspective. And you heard she talked about euthanizing her dogs and losing the dogs. So she has shared loss from a number of perspectives, but we want you to read the book. But we also want to reserve about 15 minutes for questions or 10 minutes. So right after Vivica shares, this is one of her past students, I saw another one. I think, was that Tovia?
Tovia, yes. Tovia is part
Tovia,
of my
we're going
management
to ask
team.
you to come on. Okay, you're part of the management team. So since Vivica is here, we're going to ask Vivica Steer to share. And then we want to open the floor for questions. So I have asked some just to get her talking and for us to understand why this issue matters. And we want you to ask questions. So you can put them in the comments, and then I will ask them on your behalf. You can also make comments. I'm going to bring up some of the comments because we have some supporters here. And then share this broadcast. Many people don't join live, but this is evergreen. It will be on YouTube as long as YouTube exists or my channel exists. And so share it, share it, share it, share it, share it with others and encourage them to get the book. All right, Vivica, the stage is yours.
Good evening. And let me correct, I am not only a past student, I am a friend, I am a colleague, I am a church sister, you name it, I am it. I would say that I did her course on grief management, and anybody buy this book is getting value for money. She possessed a rare ability to navigate others through grief and bereavement with a level of compassion and unwavering support that I don't see in many. I was someone who had a difficulty even being around persons who are grieving. I don't know how to handle that. And I learned from Geraldine how to do that. I now counsel persons who are grieving. She has touched countless lives. She has a deep understanding of human behavior and emotion, and she's able to really provide the support to those who are grappling with loss in a way that few others can. And she's definitely an inspiration, a role model, and she's tough. She's a no nonsense person, but she possesses a level of compassion that words cannot really describe. And I would encourage anyone and everyone to purchase this book because it belongs in your library, because everybody is touched by loss in some way, shape, or form.
Thank you very much, Ms. Steer. Everybody is touched by loss in some way, shape, or form. And so we want to encourage you to get this book. Look on your screen. You will see scrolling across the pre-order page. The author page is bamboosparks.com. That's bamboo with a U / the author's name, Geraldine Garwood. Go there and place your order. And the first person to place an order this evening for either the paperback or hardcover, I am going to gift you that copy. So I am going to be monitoring the email to see who is the first person tonight to place an order for either the hardcover or the paperback version. And I'm going to gift you that copy because this is something you need in your library, because everybody will have some sort of loss. And all you have to do is go on the page, either click the paperback or the hardcover, and it leads you to the checkout page. Wow. Because you would have to put some money or something in the slot. I may have to try another way to give that away. I am going to try to work out something else. Maybe I'll ask a question from what I'm going to do, because Kayla was the first person to comment that she suffered losses. I think she was one of the first two persons to join. Kayla, I'm going to ask you to give me your information. I will go on the same page and send a message. Scroll down to the message part and send us a message. Put your name and phone number, and we'll contact you. You're going to be getting, we want to gift you either a paperback or hardcover version of this book, An Affair with Grief. So that's Kayla. Kayla, let us know if you're in Jamaica or please.
Kyla.
Kyla. All right. So
Yes,
you know
Kyla.
her.
Yes, I taught Kyla. I think I taught Kyla.
Oh, awesome sauce. And she
Yes,
said
I taught her.
she had 2 losses this year. All right. All right. So we have some questions we're going to take right now, some comments and questions. So it's Kyla. So I made a mistake there. So Kyla said that she lost her mom last year and a dear cousin this year. And Daphne, I know Daphne lost her mom a year ago. She said, "Can you celebrate while you grieve?" Talk to us about that.
Sure, you can. I believe you can celebrate while you grieve, but it takes strength of character to do so. You can celebrate, but do not negate that you're grieving. I'm not sure if you're getting what I'm saying, but a person can still go out, celebrate, have a good time, but don't forget that you're grieving. One of the thing is that persons believe that when they're grieving, they can't have happy moments or they don't have the right to have happy moments. If they feel like they're having happy moments, they feel guilty that they are not placing importance on the person who died or the person they should be grieving for. And that is not so, right? So you can celebrate, you can go out, you can enjoy happy moments while grieving, right? But don't negate that you're actually grieving. So still deal with your emotions, but you can still have a celebratory moment and enjoy yourself. But oftentimes, persons overall, it's a cultural thing. If they see somebody celebrating, looking happy, having a good moment, they feel like look how them a behave and them mother dead or them brother dead or them friend. Look how like them not sad, like they're glad to the person dead. That's a Jamaican thing. No, and because of that, persons fail to really have celebratory moments. Because in grief, you take along the memories of the persons with you. So it is a lifetime. So you journey with them. So even your celebration, you can even celebrate them, aspects of them while you celebrate. So yes, you can.
I'm glad that question was asked because is it normal? For example, when you go to a funeral, I was at a funeral recently and I became a little bit annoyed. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but it's as if they were like, you don't need to be sad. Praise the Lord. It's a Thanksgiving service. And it's as if the moderators, or pastors, it's as if, I don't know, is
Don't be
there room
annoyed.
for sadness?
Don't be annoyed. I'm
I was
annoyed with them
annoyed.
too. I'm annoyed with them
So
too.
was that
So don't
right?
feel
Was
away.
that right?
No, that was wrong. And that's the thing now where in my book I talk about where you spiritualize grief. And it's sad to say I'm not bashing pastors or so, but I always encourage. Vivica would say, and she can attest to that, and maybe other students, maybe Kyla, that I would always say, students, if you're grieving, do not go to your pastor. Go to a grief specialist. No bashing for pastors, but I said it because more often than not all of them, but a number of them tend to not able to separate the spirituality from the actual grieving. So because of that, they don't want people to cry, go through their regular emotions. They believe that because you are a Christian, you ought not to experience emotions associated with grief. You should not grieve. And so I can relate and actually read a story of years ago, and it was years ago when I was teaching the course that I actually had a student who was a pastor who shared, and he shared it openly, that he almost lost his marriage while grieving because he was a pastor and he was extremely close to his mother. And when he lost his mother, he was broken. He took a month off from the church, and so and oh, his wife actually behaved. You can't be that you're a pastor. You can't be crying in front of the congregation. You can't be doing it. You can't be. He said he almost lost his marriage because she didn't expect that from her. And so he had to really get intervention to help him and to help her to understand that he needed time to grieve because he actually lost his mother. So I am annoyed too, Ruth, when I go to funerals and hear those kinds of things. And so even if I am doing funerals, which I participate in a lot, and if I am the liturgist at the funeral, I do not say those things to people. I will encourage them to grieve, and they understand that God understands their grief and is journeying with them through the grief process. So I'm not one who will tell them, because what happens is that persons believe that once a person is a Christian, yes, they're going to go to heaven if they die. So why are you crying? That doesn't take away the fact that you're going to miss this person. This person was a part of your life. You're going to miss them. You're not going to have them around. So you're going to have emotions, and that is fine. So what we don't want is for persons to spiritualize grief. And that's what most persons have done in the church context. A number of church leaders have done and spiritualized grief, and that has damaged a lot of persons in church. So there are many persons in the church today who are going through deep grief, and they don't have anybody to talk to. Right? I have had students share with me that they are grieving, and they go to tell their leaders that, I'm going to step down a little while from the praise and worship team. I'm going to step down from duty because I really need some time. And they get a bashing, how can they give up God's work? I mean, you are a Christian, and so on, so and so, not understand that these persons have real emotions that needs to be addressed. And some of them may need to sit and talk to a therapist, talk with somebody, help to identify their emotions and deal with it. And so they need to go through grief, whether they are persons of the faith or not. So again, get the book, because you will see that. I talk about that a little bit in the book, that we must not spiritualize grief, but we must allow persons to go through their grief. So faith and grief, very important that we have an understanding of that.
Thank you so much. And so we're saying get this book, An Affair with Grief. You can only get it right now from the author. It's going to come out on Amazon on the 20th of December when it's going to be launched. But we're going to be having some early bird copies delivered for Christmas, autographed copies. If you're in Jamaica, we will have them autographed so that you can get them before the year is out, hopefully in time for Christmas, so that you can give them away. We want to encourage churches to buy a whole heap of these books. I mean, this is like a simple grief manual. It's Introduction to Grief 101. And since churches always have to be burying people and dealing with stuff, this should be a part of what you have there so that you can give away. And we want to encourage you to invite Geraldine Garwood to come and share. And I know our hands are going to be even fuller when this book comes out. And so we are in the final stages. And the book launch is the 20th of December. I believe that's her birthday. So we want to encourage you to go and order. Yes, order. So it's a birthday gift, but it is a timeless gift because all of us will have loss. Remember, we're not talking about only death. It can be the loss of a job, a loss of a friend, loss of a pet, anything of significance that you lose. And we want to encourage you to get this book. So you see it there on the screen. bambusparks.com/Geraldine Garwood. And we also have a contact part there. So if you want to message her, it's behaviorchange2012@gmail.com. But all you have to do is go to the page and scroll down to the bottom of our author page, and you will see where you can send her a message. So just go right down, and you can get the free sample chapter, so you can get a taste of it. So you can message her, put in your name, your email, WhatsApp, send her a message, and she will get it and respond. And so final words, Geraldine, as we close out, we're approaching the 1 hour mark. Final words to anybody facing loss, why they should get this book. Anything you want to say to close us out?
My final words would say that there is hope in your grieving. right? There is hope for healing and a comeback. What I want to say to you, which is something that is really a myth out there that I want to dispel, is that we get over grief. We don't get over grief, we get through grief. It's a process, and we take those we are grieving for on the journey of life with us. And when we get through the process, as we go through the process, we will come to a place where we have bittersweet moments, where we can think about what we have lost, the person lost, and we can have that bittersweet moment. We can smile at times, and we can even shed a tear at times, and it's still okay because we are going through the process of grief, and grief is a journey. So I encourage you to get the book, and as you get the book, I hope that you will, benefit. I know you're going to benefit from it, and you will become stronger as you go through the grief process, and you're able to help someone on the grief journey.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much. This has been an affair with grief. This is just only one of many that she'll be doing across the island and around the world, because she has written something that is timeless, something that is a must have in simple language to get us to begin to properly deal with grief and loss. So thank you for coming. Share this with a friend. Go to the page, pre-order the print book so you can get your autographed copies in time for Christmas. And have a good night. Remember, it's a
Good
process
night.
and you
Yes.
can get through this.
Good night, all. Thank you.